All right. It looks like we are going live. Welcome, everybody. It is another beautiful Wednesday. We are starting on August 20th, 2025, a new course on Gleanings from the Writings of Baha'u'llah. This Gleanings course for 2025 is starting today. We have Mr. Peter Terry as our presenter and the facilitator of this course. It's a free online course. And furthermore, this course will delve into the selected tablets and extracts from the writings of Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith. We will be using the Ocean 2.0 version of Gleanings, which you can find on oceanlibrary.com. That version has, in addition to the text you'll find on the Baha'i Reference Library, accompaniments with the links to dictionaries you can use when you highlight a word. You can also have the book read out loud to you. So as we go along and you mark your page, if you have an oceanlibrary.com account, you can save your spot and come back to it anytime you wish. While this course will not be taken for credit and there will be no charge, it will be operated in a similar fashion to a college seminar, with participants strongly encouraged to participate. Now, all discussions will be focused on the material at hand and recorded in case participants wish to review what was discussed in prior sessions. The weekly schedule of readings will be posted to the landing page a week before the start of the course. Now that we've started the course, we'll be updating that page, usually weekly, and we welcome you to check out that page whenever you are welcome, whenever you're able to use a computer. That being said, our event details, it started today, August 20th, 2025. It'll occur every week on Wednesday. We're planning for approximately 17 sessions. However, it may go further, and that is okay. Now, the first lesson reading for today, we have read through numbers 1 through 13, passages 1 through 13, prior to this date, August 20th. Now, before the session, we will be discussing today what will be important to read prior to next week. So please read the passage that's to be discussed the week before the session so that you can participate in the conversation. Now, one last word about Peter Terry. Peter Terry is an author, a teacher, a scholar. He's published 8 books and also contributed 4 chapters in books and 50 online papers. His main areas of expertise include religious scripture, history, education, philosophy, and theology. He has taught online courses for the Well-Met Institute and presented papers for the Irfan Colloquium and the Association for Baha'i Studies. Recently, he has given presentations on various Baha'i-related topics for the Clearwater Baha'i community, and he is a frequent contributor of the Explorations series hosted by the Baha'is of Clearwater, Florida. His talks are available on the Clearwater Baha'is YouTube channel and on the clearwaterbaha'is.org website. If you wish to learn more and read more about Peter Terry, feel free to visit the website where you can find his bio there. And again, lastly, we recommend that if you haven't added yourself yet to the mailing list, please go to clearwaterbaha'is.org where you have that contact us page you can use to sign up and receive these emails, where again, we will be sharing information about the course. Lastly, once more, we are using oceanlibrary.com, where you'll be likely seeing some excerpts from Gleanings on the screen. And again, you are more than happy to just contact us and ask so we can help you get into the right direction, where to find the website, where to find the material we're at exactly for the following week. Without much further ado, Mr. Peter Terry, we welcome you. Thank you very much.
Now you can hear me. Thank you for your introduction. Everyone, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to put in the chat here. Can you everybody see the chat? I think you can. It's down on the right side well, right side of your screen if you clicked on it. Otherwise, there's an icon. You can click on it. Okay, what I'm doing there is I'm putting my name. I just put my name. Now I'm going to put my email. And I'm going to explain immediately why I'm putting my email. The reason why I'm putting my email is, that's if I can type it correctly, is that you may have questions that you either don't feel like bringing up, don't have a chance to bring up, don't think of until 3 o'clock in the morning, don't think of until someday down the road. It's fine. Anytime, if you have a question during these 17 weeks and you want to ask it of me, go ahead. Just send me an email. I'm happy to respond. And really makes me work, because I've done most of the work that I needed for this course prior to sharing it with you. But this is going to make me work harder, and I love it because I'm working harder to understand this fabulous collection of Baha'i texts. So with that, my name is Peter Terry, and I'm going to read the names of all the people who are on this call. John and Jeremiah are the first two. They're from Clearwater. Nancy, Farah Bonu, Saratha, Andreas Lin, Sanjukta, Sohil, Vladimir, Sene, Michael, James, Sabrina, Hamid, Navid, Robin, Angie, Majd, Isolda, Joseph, Sharon, David, Cynthia, Peter, Aaron, Masroor, Angela, Deanna, Joan, Steve, Brenda, Jim, Michelle, Radina, Anne, Suyeon, Shogi, Ali, Jorge, Alric, Rita, Hussein, Chris, Diana, Kenneth, Betty, Joshua, Shamim, Arye, Archie, Lou, Kathy, Galen, Beverly, Massimo, Marcia, Dar, Sharon, Aleph, Aliyu, Kim, we have 3 Kims, Heather, Dawn, Samantha, Andrea, Jennifer, Sandra, Mathieu, Jay, Kathy, Shiva, Farah, Christy, Doris, Vladislav, Valeria, Yevgeny, Diane, Renee, Virginia, we have 2 Virginias, David, Faiz, Jean, Kafumba, Marie, Chad, Angie, Sharon, Ramin, Daniel, Joan, Nancy, Steve, Linda, Suyun, Joshua, Diane, Ruth, Heidi, Kim. We have 3 Kims. I think I already told you that before. Rich, Anita, Stephanie, David, Massimo, Jerry, Gary, Lucy, Sue, Evelyn, Nikki, Dawn, Jennifer, Andre, Aaron, Blanche, Kathy, Deborah, Becky, Eileen, Doris, Robert, Rod, Shiva, Jorge, Victoria, Farah, Adam, Robbie, Kara, Robert, Amy, Paula, Sheila, Lillian, Molly, Diane, Joan, Dean, Vici, Renee, and Lisa. And maybe some others that I failed to write down earlier today. And I just saw that someone just came in named Parisa, who's not on my list. Hooray! Welcome to all of you. So happy to see you all. I have a friend who's joined us today who is suffering. And I thought maybe many of us are suffering in some way or another. So I'm going to start with a prayer of Baha'u'llah that talks about healing, because I feel that all of us can use healing. Glory be to thee, O Lord my God. I implore thee by thy name, through which thou didst lift up the ensigns of thy guidance, and didst shed the radiance of thy loving kindness, and didst reveal the sovereignty of thy lordship, through which the lamp of thy names have appeared within the niche of thine attributes, and he who is the tabernacle of thy unity and the manifestation of detachment hath shown forth, through which the ways of thy guidance were made known and the paths of thy good pleasure were marked out, through which the foundations of error have been made to tremble, and the signs of wickedness have been abolished, through which the fountains of wisdom have burst forth, and the heavenly table hath been sent down, through which thou didst preserve thy servants and didst vouchsafe thy healing, through which thou didst show forth thy tender mercies unto thy servants, and revealest thy forgiveness amidst thy creatures. I implore thee to keep safe him who hath held fast and returned unto thee and clung to thy mercy, and seized the hem of thy loving providence. Send down then upon him thy healing, and make him whole, and endue him with a constancy vouchsafed by thee, and a tranquility bestowed by thy highness. Thou art verily the healer, the preserver, the helper, the almighty, the powerful, the all-glorious, the all-knowing. Thank you so much, friends, again for joining us. I know most of you did not get the notification of this class and did not register or consider what was going to happen today in advance. I'm aware of that. So we're going to be a little bit flexible today about what we cover and what we will cover next week. I'm very happy to repeat material that we could have covered today, but you didn't have a chance to read it. And the importance of you reading it is that when you read it, and then I go through the lessons and talk about a summary of each of the tablets that Shoghi Effendi translated, is that you have some context for hearing what I have to say, and also you have some ability to ask questions. And as you know, one of the names of months that we have, quite remarkable actually, is the month of questions. And the reason why is because questions is the prelude to learning. All learning happens because we want to know something new. So we're going to have that opportunity. And as I said, I'm not going to be rigid about this. I have a schedule because without a schedule, we have no order and it's impossible for us to really learn very much of anything. Now, this is not an introductory course. I'm not assuming that you've never read Gleanings. I'm not assuming that you have read Gleanings. It's a review. It's kind of a look over the entire text to find out what does it have, how does it speak to us? Okay. And by the way, somebody is asking, they're wondering what is the link to join? And the link to join was then put down by somebody very helpful in Rochester. Okay. It's right there in the chat. So please go ahead and register. But you can also wait and register later because you don't have to use that particular copy of the text to look at the moment. That we're going to have few requirements in this course because, well, a lot of us haven't been to school for a long time, and we'll get up to practice. Now, you're going to encounter words you're not familiar with. I'm using the flashcard functionality of this application. I'm talking about Ocean 2.0. I'm using the flashcard capacity in our class to do words that are not going to be found easily in a dictionary. For a dictionary, all you have to do is highlight the word in the text, and a dictionary will pop up. And you can ask that, you can right then and there ask what that word means. Of course, if you prefer to use some other app or you prefer to pull out your dictionary from your bookshelf, that's fine too. The next issue was I wanted to make sure that you had my email in case you wanted to email any questions or any comments. And the third is that I wanted to make a little comment about the character of the passages that we're going to be reading. The character of these passages is quite challenging for us 21st century people in many cases. The tone of his voice when he is showing love is really so direct and so overwhelming sometimes emotionally. We're not used to that. We're not used to having someone speak to us with so much love and love for us in a spiritual way. And then when he is stern and when he speaks of something that's not pleasant, he uses a very strong formulation of words as well. But we have to remember that this is the sternness of one who loves us. And fundamentally, that is always going to be the case. Now I'm going to go to my notes, which I'm going to show on my screen. So you'll be able to see them if you care to read along. All right. Whenever we're studying the Word of God, that is the revelations of the manifestations of God, there are some principles derived from the writings of Baha'u'llah that we might want to keep in mind. The first one, the understanding of his words and the comprehension of the utterances of the birds of heaven are in no wise dependent upon human learning. They depend solely upon purity of heart, chastity of soul, and freedom of spirit. It occurs to me that maybe, just maybe, you would like me to share my screen. Ah, there we go. So here you go. The second is, in every age, the reading of scriptures and holy books is for no other purpose except to enable the reader to apprehend their meaning and to unravel their innermost mysteries. Otherwise, reading without understanding is of no abiding profit unto man. The third is, it is evident unto thee that the birds of heaven and the doves of eternity speak a twofold language. One language, the outward language, is devoid of illusions, is unconcealed and unveiled. The other language is veiled and concealed, so that whatever lieth hidden in the heart of the malevolent may be made manifest and their innermost being be disclosed. So the text of this is going to be posted within the next couple of days, okay? And it will be also added to the online version through Ocean 2.0. And then finally, from Baha'u'llah, we have know assuredly that just as thou firmly believest that the word of God exalted be his glory, endureth forever, thou must likewise believe with undoubting faith that its meaning can never be exhausted. These are general principles that if we keep them in mind, we're not so likely to fall into habits of literalism or of thinking that the first understanding that we came to of a particular passage or a particular word was the only right one. And this actually is very helpful because, as the Guardian said in one of his letters to an individual, the first meaning that we understand is usually erroneous. It's usually wrong because it's based upon our prior experience, which often has no relationship to what Baha'u'llah is talking about. And then I wanted to share also this statement from the Guardian. One might liken Baha'u'llah's teachings to a sphere. There are poles apart, and in between the thoughts and doctrines that unite them. So we don't try to understand everything in its own entity, but we see it connected to many other verses as well. This is very helpful thing to keep in mind. The first of the selections, and we're going to be in this session talking about readings 1 through 13. Okay, I'm going to use the Roman numerals because that's what the Guardian used in Gleanings. And so if you're reading Gleanings, either on a hard copy or online, you're going to see those Roman numerals. That's what I want to give to you rather than confusing you by giving you two sets of numbers. Okay? So this is the first selection that the Guardian translated in Gleanings. Lauded and glorified art thou, O Lord my God. How can I make mention of thee, assured as I am that no tongue, however deep its wisdom, can befittingly magnify thy name, nor can the bird of the human heart, however great its longing, ever hope to ascend into the heaven of thy majesty and knowledge. The nature of God and of the manifestation of God and the unknowability of God are described in this opening section. The nature of God is also discussed in many other selections. And in the document, I've listed all of the numbers, so you can go and find them very easily without consulting a word search, although you could do that as well. What we know about God is what is revealed by God to us through the manifestations of God in the person and the book of each of these manifestations. And this principle is also reiterated in the 21st and the 22nd selection. And the unknowability of God, apart from his revelation of himself to us, is in the 26th section. So that is a snapshot view of what's in the first selection that the Guardian translated. In the second selection, he opens with the beginning of all things is the knowledge of God, and the end of all things is strict observance of whatsoever hath been sent down from the empyrean of the divine will that pervaded all that is in the heavens and all that is on the earth. This principle is very similar to that found in the opening of the Kitab Aqdas, where Baha'u'llah says, the first duty prescribed by God for his servants is the recognition of him who is the dayspring of his revelation and the fountain of his laws, who representeth the Godhead in both the kingdom of his cause and the world of creation. It behooveth everyone who reacheth this most sublime station, this summit of transcendent glory, to observe every ordinance of him who is the desire of the world. These twin duties are inseparable. Neither is acceptable without the other. The third selection that the Guardian included begins with this: the revelation which from time immemorial hath been acclaimed as the purpose and promise of all the prophets of God, and the most cherished desire of his messengers, hath now, by virtue of the pervasive will of the Almighty and at his irresistible bidding, been revealed unto man. The theme of this passage, number 3, and the others that are numbered 4 through 12, are all about this day, the day that's promised, that has been promised to us by all the manifestations of the past, and announcing that it has come. This day is not only a dispensation in length, it will be a cycle lasting at least 500,000 years. This is the astonishing proclamation of Baha'u'llah. In his words, this truly is a revelation which revealeth itself only once every 500,000 years. It is reiterated by Abdu'l-Baha and cited in the dispensation of Baha'u'llah of Shoghi Effendi. From this thou canst imagine the magnitude of the Baha'i cycle, a cycle that must extend over a period of at least 500,000 years. Now, if you're anything like me, that's mind-blowing. It's just, there's never been a manifestation who has predicted such a long period of time of human development. And that's why this day is unique. So in the fourth selection, it starts with, this is the day in which God's most exalted favors have been poured out upon men, the day in which his most mighty grace hath been infused into all created things. Another notable passage from this particular document, this selection, which the Guardian cited in some of his letters, soon will the present day order be rolled up and a new one spread out in its stead. And so we go to the fifth one. This is the day, this is Baha'u'llah speaking, this is the day whereon the ocean of God's mercy hath been manifested unto men, the day in which the day star of his loving kindness hath shed its radiance upon them, the day in which the clouds of his bountiful favor have overshadowed the whole of mankind. Baha'u'llah speaks here of the capacity of his followers to respond to this summons. They who are the beloved of God, in whatever place they gather and whomsoever they may meet, must evince in their attitude towards God and in the manner of their celebration of his praise and glory such humility and submissiveness that every atom of the dust beneath their feet may attest the depth of their devotion. The conversation carried by these holy souls should be informed with such power that these same atoms of dust will be thrilled by its influence. One moment, I'm going to go and close the door. There we are. And speaking of the capacity of us individuals, this is one of the passages that I've virtually memorized. I'm very bad at memorizing things, but I've virtually memorized this because I think about it every day. What is my capacity? I know some people have much greater capacity than me, and some may have less. But what is mine? Because the whole duty of man in this day is to attain that share of the flood of grace which God poureth forth for him. Let none, therefore, consider the largeness or smallness of the receptacle. The portion of some might lie in the palm of a man's hand. The portion of others might fill a cup, and of others even a gallon measure. Like I said, this is something we need to remind ourselves all the time. And for this first time in Gleanings, he's calling upon us to do something. He says, every eye in this day should seek what will best promote the cause of God. Forget your own selves and turn your eyes towards your neighbor. Bend your energies to whatever may foster the education of men. He then lovingly counsels us on how to carry out this blessed calling. Show forbearance and benevolence and love to one another. Should anyone among you be incapable of grasping a certain truth or be striving to comprehend it, show forth, when conversing with him, a spirit of extreme kindliness and goodwill. Help him to see and recognize the truth without esteeming yourself to be in the least superior to him or to be possessed of greater endowments. Wow, what a difference from our culture. If Baha'u'llah had revealed this tablet alone, humanity would be blessed with an unforgettable assurance of God's love for us and his wish that we love one another as he loves us. In the 6th passage, it begins, "Behold how the diverse peoples and kindreds of the earth have been waiting for the coming of the promised one. No sooner had he who is the Son of Truth been made manifest, than lo, all turned away from him, except them whom God was pleased to guide." Now, we get the big message, which was that so many people have turned away from Baha'u'llah, and we've experienced this personally. But maybe we missed the end of the sentence, "except them whom God was pleased to guide." For those of you who are familiar at all with the Gospels, you will remember these passages. Jesus said in the Gospel of Matthew, "For many are called, but few are chosen." And in the Gospel of John, he said, "Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you." This is an extraordinary thing that we're encountering here, because we think that we've done everything. We think that we're in charge. And look at what Baha'u'llah says to a group of believers. This was reported by Nabil Azam in the Dawnbreakers. "Be thankful to God for having enabled you to recognize his cause. Whoever has received this blessing must, prior to his acceptance, have performed some deed which, though he himself was unaware of its character, was ordained by God as a means whereby he has been guided to find and embrace the truth. As to those who have remained deprived of such a blessing, their acts alone have hindered them from recognizing the truth of this revelation. We cherish the hope that you, who have attained to this light, will exert your utmost to banish the darkness of superstition and unbelief from the midst of the people. May your deeds proclaim your faith and enable you to lead the erring into the paths of eternal salvation. The memory of this night will never be forgotten. May it never be effaced by the passage of time, and may its mention linger forever on the lips of men." The station of the true believer that Baha'u'llah is speaking of is referred to in many passages which I list in the paper. Other quotations besides these on this theme are to be found in the Dispensation of Baha'u'llah, that magnificent summary of the Baha'i teachings written by the infallible guardian of our faith, which was published in the World Order of Baha'u'llah. A correlation of this Dispensation of Baha'u'llah, along with those complementary texts with the Gleanings, is a course that I hope to be able to offer those who would like to continue their study after the completion of this one. And number 7, we have this. Verily say, remember, all of these are about the promised day has come. Verily I say, this is the day in which mankind can behold the face and hear the voice of the promised one. And he says, great indeed is this day, the allusions made to it in all the sacred scriptures as the day of God attest its greatness. Now, there have been many books that have been written about these prophecies, but I can recommend that series of 3 that have been written by my beloved friend Eileen, who is amongst you today. And if you just look up her name, Eileen Maddox, Maddocks, you will find her books. He continues, Baha'u'llah continues, the soul of every prophet of God, of every divine messenger, hath thirsted for this wondrous day. Well, we don't have time to go through all the prophets and messengers right now, but I wanted to cite to you some specific references that are fulfilled by Baha'u'llah. And how do I know? Because he says that he fulfills them. Speaking of this day, the Gospel of John says, I have yet many things to say unto you, but ye cannot bear them now. Howbeit, when he, the Spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you into all truth. In the Loy Akdas of Baha'u'llah, he says, verily, he who is the Spirit of truth is come to guide you unto all truth. In the Surah Hekal, addressing the kings of Christendom, the Christian kings, Baha'u'llah spoke again about this prophecy of Jesus. In another passage, he saith, when he, the Spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you into all truth. And yet behold how, when he did bring the truth, ye refused to turn your faces towards him and persisted in disporting yourselves with your pastimes and fancies. Like I said, sometimes Baha'u'llah is quite stern. The arrival of this day should have been a joyous occasion, but when it occurred, Baha'u'llah says, all except those whom the Almighty was pleased to guide were found dumbfounded and heedless. And I'll point out, of course, who are the ones that he guided? Those are the ones who, according to that conversation that Baha'u'llah had with Nabil, they are the people who by some action have prepared their hearts to recognize the promised one. It is something we do. We may not know what it is ever, or maybe not until we die, but we did something that merited having this consciousness of the manifestation. And Baha'u'llah assures us, do not despair about the fact that so many have turned away, because he himself makes this statement. God grants that the light of unity may envelop the whole earth, and that the seal, the kingdom of God is God's, may be stamped upon the brow of all its peoples. And that is a prayer for all of us to pray every day. In the 8th chapter, the 8th selection, it begins with, by the righteousness of God, these are the days in which God hath proved the hearts of the entire company of his messengers and prophets, and beyond them those that stand guard over his sacred and inviolable sanctuary, the inmates of the celestial pavilion and the dwellers of the tabernacle of glory. How severe, therefore, the test to which they who join partners with God must needs be subjected. A little explanation about what he's talking about. First of all, in Gleanings chapter 19, you will find this statement. These attributes of God are not and have never been vouchsafed specially unto certain prophets and withheld from others. Nay, all the prophets of God, his well-favored, his holy and chosen messengers are, without exception, the bearers of his names and the embodiments of his attributes. They only differ in the intensity of their revelation and the comparative potency of their light. And he also, he's citing now a verse from the Quran. Even as he hath revealed some of the apostles, we have cause to excel the others. Baha'u'llah informs us in other tablets that while these prophets are the bearers of all his names and all of the names and attributes of God, they differ in the intensity of their revelation, and they also differ in another way, which is they are not all informed about the future. And in due course, I will add a note explaining that, but I'll just tell it to you now. In one of the Gospels, Jesus is asked when he will return, and he says, of that hour no man knoweth, nor the Son of Man, only the Father. So this is, for us to understand, there is revelation, there's progressive revelation, and progressive revelation is even to the manifestations. The manifestations know the message they are to deliver. That doesn't mean that they know everything. Why should they? What value would it be for them to know all of the details of the subsequent revelation when it can only be revealed at the right time? The expression joining partners with God is a very specific one because it's talking about any person who rejects the authority of the manifestation of God, because there is no other godly authority on earth. God does not appear in his total being except through his manifestation. So joining partners with God can mean a whole lot of things, none of them positive. And he writes about this theme of joining partners with God in a number of the selections that we will be reading later on. In particular, of course, Baha'u'llah was referring to those Babis who rejected him, because for them it was a very serious failure. They had been prepared through the writings of the Bab to welcome and to follow Baha'u'llah, and yet a number of them did not do so. And that was a great tragedy, because when all of the followers of any religion can embrace the next manifestation, then it is so much easier for that manifestation's influence to spread to the rest of humanity. In the 9th selection, O Hussein, consider the eagerness with which certain peoples and nations have anticipated the return of Imam Hussein, whose coming, after the appearance of the Qaim, hath been prophesied in days past by the chosen ones of God. Exalted be his glory. That hour is now come. Among the prophecies that were fulfilled by the Bab and Baha'u'llah is that of the 12th Imam, sometimes called the Imam Mahdi, who will return, and he will be called the Qaim. And after him will return the Qayyum. But there are different formulations of this in the Imami Shiite Muslim tradition. And one of them refers to after the coming of the 12th Imam, the return of the 12th Imam, will come the 3rd Imam, which is the Imam Hussein. And Baha'u'llah is referring to this particular prediction there. And I just put a little note that Baha'u'llah's given name was Hussein. And sometimes he does that. He will point to the literal meaning and the figurative meaning at the same time and show that both of them are fulfilled. There's a great significance to that, because in many of the Baha'i teachings, we miss out if we don't understand that it does have a literal meaning. And then we also miss out if we don't understand that it has a symbolic meaning. So we're really called upon to embrace both kinds of truth, the one that seems really obvious and the one that takes some digging and some praying. And the 10th selection, the time foreordained unto the peoples and kindreds of the earth is now come. The promises of God as recorded in the Holy Scriptures have all been fulfilled. Meditate upon this, O ye beloved of God, and let your ears be attentive unto his word, so that ye may by his grace and mercy drink your fill from the crystal waters of constancy, and become as steadfast and immovable as the mountain is his cause. For the second time in Gleanings, in this passage, Baha'u'llah is calling upon his followers to teach his cause. Here are his words. It is incumbent in this day upon every man to place his whole trust in the manifold bounties of God and arise to disseminate with the utmost wisdom the verities of his cause. Then, and only then, will the whole earth be enveloped with the morning light of his revelation. The 11th selection. All glory be to his this day, the day in which the fragrances of mercy have been wafted over all created things, a day so blessed that past ages and centuries can never hope to rival it, a day in which the countenance of the Ancient of Days hath turned towards his holy seat. This is part of the announcement of the day of God to Mount Carmel, which is one of the themes of the tablet of Carmel, which is cited several times among the passages in Gleanings. As I think all of you know, Baha'u'llah pitched his tent on Mount Carmel, and he revealed this tablet there. Another case where there are going to be literal meanings and symbolic meanings to that extraordinary event. And this is the very place, as you know, where the Bab and Abdul Baha are buried. This is the shrine that we go to when we go on pilgrimage. And this passage, this tablet also speaks of teaching, but it speaks of teaching from Baha'u'llah's point of view. Remember that beautiful prayer in which Abdul Baha, in the tablets of the, what is it? I'm forgetting for the moment. His tablets where he's encouraging people to go pioneering. He says the most great wish in his heart is that he could go and say, Ya Baha'u'llah Baha in every place on the earth. And this is Baha'u'llah saying it. This is Baha'u'llah. Oh, how I long to announce unto every spot on the surface of the earth, and to carry to each one of its cities the glad tidings of this revelation, a revelation to which the heart of Sinai hath been attracted, and in whose name the burning bush is calling, unto God, the Lord of worlds, the Lord of lords, belong the kingdoms of earth and heaven. Verily, this is the day in which both land and sea rejoice at this announcement, the day for which have been laid up those things which God, through a bounty beyond the ken of mortal mind or heart, hath destined for revelation. When we hear how Baha'u'llah describes teaching the faith, what greater inspiration can we have for wanting to do it ourselves? In the 12th selection, bestir yourselves, O people, in anticipation of the days of divine justice, for the promised hour is now come. Beware lest ye fail to apprehend its import and be accounted among the erring. This passage, the whole thing is cited here. It's just 2 sentences, but boy, does this pack a lot of truth, a lot of guidance. These are called the days of divine justice. And to give you a window into understanding what the days of divine justice could mean, we now turn to the 25th chapter of the Gospel of Matthew. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, says Jesus, and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right hand and the goats on his left. Then the king, for whoever sits on the throne is a king, then the king will say to those on the right, Come, you who are blessed by my Father. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did I see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did you When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, truly, I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. And then he will say to those on the left, depart from me, for I was hungry and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger and you did not invite me in. I needed clothes and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison and you did not look after me. They will answer, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger and needing clothes or sick or in prison and did not help you? He will reply, truly, I tell you, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me. I cite that because Baha'u'llah has, instead of telling us this prophecy, which refers to him, he says something very succinct and to the point. The proof of our faith is in our actions, not our words. That is found in the hidden words. It's found in the Baha'i writings in many, many places. We are a cause of action. The way we show that we are true to our beliefs is by doing something and changing the world. And finally, the 13th. Consider the past. How many, both high and low, have at all times yearningly awaited the advent of the manifestations of God in the sanctified persons of his chosen ones, and whensoever the portals of grace did open and the clouds of divine bounty did rain upon mankind, and the light of the unseen did shine above the horizon of celestial might, they all denied him and turned away from his face, the face of God himself. Reflect. What could have been the motive for such deeds? What could have prompted such behavior towards the revealers of the beauty of the All-Glorious? Whatever in days gone by hath been the cause of the denial and opposition of those people hath now led to the perversity of the people of this age. Baha'u'llah doesn't leave us wondering what he's talking about. In this selection, he explains why the manifestations have been rejected. His language is firm and unequivocal. The causes of their rejection of the manifestation are petty-mindedness, opposition to the truth, and because they weighed the revelation of God in the standard of human knowledge. Let us contemplate those things, because this is Baha'u'llah speaking not for the cause of rejection of himself alone, but of all the manifestations of God. In this selection, Baha'u'llah begins with Moses and then talks about Moses, about Jesus, about Muhammad, and about himself. He states that Moses summoned humanity, not just the descendants of the 12 sons of Jacob. He spoke to humanity, and humanity rejected him. And then he refers to Jesus as having taught his message to the whole world, which was then rejected by all of his contemporaries. And then he states that the same thing happened to Muhammad, who came in fulfillment of the prophecies of Jesus, but then was also rejected. He concludes with this day in which all of those who are on earth who have rejected his revelation, he calls small-minded, contemptible people. But we must remember that is hard language, but he loves everybody. And that's why we are sent to go teach them. because everybody can become a believer. Being a believer is because of certain behaviors that people have and certain behaviors that they don't have. And we can have an influence on the decisions of other people. If we didn't have that capacity, then Baha'u'llah wouldn't have told us over and over again that we do. And I'm going to conclude my remarks because at this point, I want to take any questions that you have, any observations. Please send them in the chat so that it will be possible for Jeremiah to read them in consecutive order. And I can concentrate on offering whatever comments I have. And by the way, I just want to reiterate before I wait for your questions. I want to reiterate that we're reviewing the contents of Gleanings. There are many, many things here that I didn't talk about. There are many, many, because the word of God not only has multiple meanings, but it can't be abbreviated. Not really. We can go and study one phrase and learn about that one phrase, and we can study it and study it and study it. It's like the master said, if you pick one of the principles and you actually live according to that principle and promote it, that is of greater value than simply being sort of superficial in your treatment of all of the principles. And this is true of the word too. We're just getting started. I'm stopping sharing. And Jeremiah, if you see any questions that people want to ask. I'm seeing something here right now.
Yeah.
I see a question about when will you be able to revisit the recording? The recording can be revisited online, right? And Jeremiah could give you the URLs where you can find it on Facebook and on YouTube, right? And I think actually
Yes.
these are your channels, right? Your Facebook channel and your YouTube channel, all right? For Clearwater Baha'is. The flashcards are in the app. So you go into the app, and once you're in the app, then you look around and you should find flashcards on your screen. If you don't, I'm going to go home later on and I'm going to check and see if I can do it easily. If I can't, I will come up with instructions and I'll give them to you next time. Okay?
So regarding the app and the flashcards, I found that the link that we provided is the best way to get to it. There is there are a few comments, questions on social media. So if you want, I'll read that to you, Peter.
Sure. Sure. I'm seeing if there's, somebody asked one question here. Let me answer that one. Okay. This is from Sue and Charlie. Is there a place where you can cross-reference where the passages and Gleanings come from? Yes. A number of scholars have spent years tracking down those passages, and it's now been confirmed by the World Center that their research was accurate. And we now have a list of the individuals to whom all of them were sent. And the readings, when you go through the readings in the Ocean 2.0 course, you will see that I actually identify where the passages come from. When they come from books that are already published, there are many, many passages which were newly translated by Baha'u'llah and translated by Shoghi Effendi, and they are only available currently in the Gleanings. Someday, all of those tablets will be, I'm sure, available to us in their entirety, but right now, those are the passages we have. But that document I will also make available to everybody. So go ahead, Jeremiah.
So I believe this is Molly asks the question, need clarification of capacity, some small and some large capacity. Does the mean spiritual receptivity, or is it limited to mind and brain capacity?
No, it's spiritual capacity too. If you look at the Some Answered Questions of Abdu'l-Baha, he talks about there being three parts of the human being, three components, if you will, of our consciousness. One is the part that is affirmed by science because it's physical, okay? And it has to do with inheritance, all right? We inherit certain of our attributes from our parents and from a long line of ancestors. Then there's the second thing is things that we learn. It's about education, okay? The third thing he says are the innate characteristics of each soul. Every soul is individual. The capacity of each soul is different. We're not carbon copies of each other by any means. And that's one of the reasons why you can have twins or people who are brought up in exactly the same way, but they can be very different from each other. Again, he explains it more eloquently than I do in Some Answered Questions. Somebody is asking, not seeing the flashcards option. Okay, like I said, I will definitely find out why that's a problem and make sure that it gets rectified. By the way, if any of you have questions that you want resolved before next week, you can email me. Like this sort of a thing. If you want to be able to use flashcards tomorrow, then send me an email because I will find out why it is that you can't see them, right? And I will reply, all right? And here's my email address again.
So the question
You
we
may
have,
want to read it though first. Pateri 19.
What?
So it's Peter.
P.E. Terry, yes, P.E. Terry.
Yeah,
It's
P-E-T-E-R-R-Y.
Petery or it's P.E. Terry.
Yeah, Peterry 19 @gmail.com. Gmail's for Google Mail.
Correct. Uh-huh. Now somebody just said she found the flashcards in oceanlibrary.com after logging in. Yes, that's what you have to do. You have to log in. You have to log. I can't send you anything outside of the app. What we're doing here, and the reason why why we're excited beyond measure, is that this is the first course that we're offering using Ocean 2.0. We've been working on this app for a very, very long time, and we have an enormous collection, including many, many writings by the Manifestations and by Abdu'l-Baha and Shoghi Effendi and so forth, with wonderful narrations. But we have just pioneered a new thing, and that is we're going to be offering courses. This is the first course. So that's why we're really encouraging you to register and use the course, because then you can read the entire text of Gleanings, section by section, using the app. And you can turn on the audio if you want to have that experience. And I can tell you the reader's got a beautiful voice. Oh, I see. Okay. All right. We'll remember that. We'll remember that, Evelyn. Send me an email. Can you do that? Or send and then I'll send you the instructions tomorrow. Yes, and if you have any comments about the Ocean 2.0 that you would like to share and you would like to have implemented, please email me them rather than putting them in the chat, because I can't copy the chat.
So Peter, what I'd like to do is look at
Yes,
a couple of the social media, and then we could probably get
sure.
ready to close out for the evening.
Absolutely.
So
Please
this
go
is
ahead.
from YouTube, and it's from Am Sterling. She's asking, how do we reconcile free will with the idea of gleanings, except them whom God was pleased to guide? Is that God decides arbitrarily, or is it based on our receptiveness that God then guides?
Oh, good question. I think there's a very clear answer. Human beings have the capacity to choose good or evil. Abdu'l-Baha asserts that without any question. That is our principal capacity of choice. We don't have every choice in the world. The person who has a gift to play the violin does not necessarily have the gift to remember code or drive a bus, or there are many things that we have capacities for that are very specific to us as individuals or to people who are like us. And, remember these quotations. How we become a believer has to do with our actions. It's not our words, it's our actions. Our actions are pleasing to God. If they are pleasing to God, then we are prepared spiritually for recognizing the manifestation. That's how we were chosen. Is we're chosen because we have done something that merited that awareness, and that action component is something that is within the capacity of every human being. Every human being can be kind, can be gentle, can be loving. And that's one of the things that I think needs to be brought into, is that our free will governs our actions. The second thing is that we don't know the outcome of our life until we die. Baha'u'llah says this very clearly in the Kitab-i-Igan. He says, at the moment of death, how many people who have devoted themselves seemingly to doing the right thing reject God? And how many who have rejected God come back to him? This is one of the mysteries that it makes it impossible for us to truly judge other people, because we don't know where they're going. We don't know where they'll end up. We don't know whether they're good people, and we don't know if we're good people. That makes us have to strive. If we knew that just by signing a declaration card, we're in heaven, man, we're going there, no question about that, we'd have a whole lot of people become Baha'is, and they wouldn't be Baha'is, would they? Because the reality is, We have to earn it. We have to earn it by our actions. Baha'u'llah says so often, actions come first.
So there was a request that we send out some kind of notification regarding how to access Ocean 2.0 and specifically some of the new features. So we'll look into that and look for something, an email this weekend regarding that. Now, are there any last questions? If there's not, then we'll do one more question, and then Peter, you can any last words to that?
Are we allowed to
Yeah,
respond? Yeah.
go ahead.
I'd like to respond to Victoria Jones' question, where she says about Baha'u'llah says that this cycle will be 500,000 years. Would that be imply that the previous cycle was 500,000 years? Just a quick thing. I remember sitting in geology class, and the professor talking about the geological cycles. And he said that we have the ice ages where we go for a few thousand years up and down, and it warms a little bit, it gets cold again. And we had been in a cycle like that for a long time. But he said that there were the longer cycles, the longer geological cycles. And he said they last 500,000 years. I remember sitting there in the class and I was just bowled over. It was like that, and these magical numbers. So I think that, and also, Baha'u'llah has told us how there have been in ages that there is no trace of anymore, right?
Yes.
So I think that, yes, there have already been 500,000 year cycles, I would guess. The evidence would show this, yeah.
And Baha'u'llah has a very interesting comment to make when he was asked about these cycles in the past and events that occurred long, long before we have any record, any kind of written record or in any sort of other way. And he answered this question, and I'd be glad to share you the quotation the next time. I'll make sure that I bring it. But in any case, it's in this passage, he says, this person says that, and that person says this. And you have all these different views, and he doesn't take a stand. He says, be ye preoccupied with the day in which you live. This is the time that's important. This is the time, because this age is the age of the fruition of all of the hopes and dreams of humanity for thousands and thousands of years. Who knows, maybe more than thousands of years. And now we're starting a whole new cycle in which we're going to come into our maturity as a species. Well, if we were preoccupied about the past, we may find that it's hard for us to do the same thing with the future. And the future is really what we need to be doing, building the future, not even just the present, because we have a vision of 500,000 years going forward. And that's a very powerful vision, especially since there's so many people these days who are afraid that we may not exist within our own lifetimes, that our children may never have a future, that may be in the process of destroying the planet and destroying humanity. There's a very, very pervasive fear of this. And it's one of the things it does is it inspires very bad behavior, because people feel like it doesn't matter what I do, because I'm probably going to die and there's no afterlife, and anybody I love is also going to disappear. So who cares? Baha'u'llah brings us such hope, such conviction that we have an eternity, not just in the other worlds, but in this world. We have a virtual eternity to look forward to. And so it counts to build a new civilization, a civilization in which we love each other, in which we care for each other, because we're going to be around. And we certainly prefer that kind of future to the future that we've seen so often in the past.
So
Oh, now somebody is saying they click on the lesson and then they see the readings in the flashcards. All right. Try it out, my friends.
with that being said, Peter, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight, and we appreciate everyone else who came out and spent the time to do it and to participate. And we definitely look forward to seeing everyone next week. And please keep an eye out in your emails for any additional emails regarding this. Any last words, Peter?
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming and being part of this first course that we're offering through Ocean 2.0. And I hope that you will stick with us and that we can work out whatever technical difficulties that people encounter. And even if you have to skip a session, we're going to be here the next week. We're going to be doing the next 17 weeks. And every single session will be recorded and online.
Would you like to give us the readings for next week?
Those readings are found in the app. They're in the app. And so if you go to the app and you simply click on the next lesson, it's lesson number 2.
Thank you, everyone.
So Vivian,
No, no, good night.
it will be 14 to 18.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.